And in today's video, we have a special one as we are at the grave of my second great-grandfather and second great-grandmother, the Jewell family here. We're in Union City, Tennessee in Eastview Cemetery. We're going to take a look at the grave that you see here behind me of them. Of course, he was a Confederate veteran. His wife is buried here as well, along with his son, William Walter Jewell, which is my great-grandfather, and his wife. And also, I have a great-uncle buried here as well. So we'll take a look at their graves here in this video in Eastview Cemetery in Union City, Tennessee. We're in Obion County. Let's take a look around. And now we're at the Jewell family plot here in Union City, and we'll look at the graves that are in this plot, and I'll tell you how they're related to me, and brought some special pictures out here today, some old photographs of them to show of some. And first, let's look at the oldest graves here that are buried, that are here in this cemetery, and we'll take a look at them. And this is the grave of Henry Hutton Jewell. He's my second great-grandfather. He was born in 1840 and died in 1899, originally from Hickman County, Tennessee. He listed in the 9th Tennessee, Company C in the Confederate Army in 1861, and I believe it was November of 1861. He served throughout the war. He was captured at Fort Donelson, sent to a prisoner of war camp, and eventually released and served through the end of the war. He spent time in, of course, Hickman County, where he was from originally, later in Perry County, and finally settled here in Obion County in the late 1800s, and he died here outside of Union City in 1899, November of 1899. His wife, Mary Ann Leake Jewell, is also buried here. She was born November the 26th, 1845, and she died in August of 1909. She's buried here as well. Of course, they went unmarked for many, many years till my great-uncle Bill Jewell applied and got a Confederate tombstone here for them. I also added her name to it, and this is their original plot. Of course, you can look around and see here in Eastview Cemetery. This was a fairly new cemetery at the time when they were buried here. So this image, of course, you see, the framed image is an image of Henry Hutton Jewell later in life. He was the son of William C. Jewell of Hickman County, who was married to Mary Smith Jewell. We have a photograph of her, by the way, as well we can share. Again, buried here. His father died in 1859, tragically, in an accident, and of course his mother lived into the late 1800s in Hickman County, and then they later moved here to Obion County. There, that original image you see closer is that daguerreotype of Henry Hutton Jewell in his younger days, probably shortly before he enlisted in the Confederate Army, and there is a piece of hair in there. I would guess that was kept with his mother as the time he was in the Confederate Army and served throughout the war between the states. This other image, of course, is his wife, Mary Ann Leake Jewell, and she is in her mourning attire. This was probably taken about the time he passed away, maybe even during that funeral service when he died in 1899. And I have that original scarf and a hat piece that she is wearing. We still have that in the family collection. But here they are, and we've put his Confederate flag on to honor his service. This is Eastview Cemetery in Union City, and wanted to bring the historic photographs and the old family photographs out here today at their grave. Let's also look over here and show you the other ones that are in the plot. And his son is buried here. This is my great-grandfather, William Walter Jewell, who was born March the 7th, 1874, and died January the 29th, 1962. This is my grandmother's father. And there you see a picture when he was a young man we've brought out here today that was made in Union City. He lived here, was born in Perry County, lived here in Obion County for many years, also lived in Crockett County, and finally where he passed away was at his home in Gibson County in Humboldt. And here is his wife, Lyra Theresa Inman Jewell, who was born in 1904 and died in 1975. They rest here next to Walter's parents. Let's look at the other individuals that you see straight behind them here. This is Wendell Walter Jewell. This is Walter's son, who was born in 1934. This is my grandmother's brother and died in 1970. His wife, Melba Ruth, there, who died in 1962. They're buried here. And then, of course, the small grave behind us here is my grandmother's baby sister, who just lived a short period of time. This is Wanda Juline, and I see her grave is now been scraped pretty good from a mower. And she was just an infant, and she's buried here, I believe it was 1930 or 31, going off memory, that she passed away. And here is this family plot. We'll take a wide look as we walk away from it here. They're just off the circle at Eastview. And I believe there's one more place that's still here at this location, but I thought it would be neat to bring the photographs out of them here today and get some photographs and pay respects and honor them. Their tombstone needs cleaned again. I need to bring the D2 and clean it. It's been a couple of years, and it's time, and that'll come back bright white again. But this is my Confederate ancestor whom I joined the Sons of Confederate Veterans under in his service. Again, he was born in 1840, May the 22nd of 1840, and then he died in November 1899, served in Company C of the 9th Tennessee out of Hickman County. And then there's his photographs and hers as well here at their final resting place in Eastview Cemetery in Union City. I hope you enjoyed that look and a little brief history about them. I first learned about Henry Hutton Jewell from my grandmother. Of course, she didn't know him. She was born in 1929, and this was her grandfather. Of course, her father was a lot older, in his 50s, when she was born. But I learned about him and had his images from early on. So I wanted to show their graves today and honor them and recognize his service in the Confederate Army. And of course, that image there you see of him on the left in the frame hangs in my home, as well as one of his wife there. And then that smaller image that we have a copy of framed also is in our home too. And there's Mr. Jewell and his wife. Sure would have loved to have known them and the stories they could have told, but they finally settled here in Obion County and Union City and passed away here. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Again, please like, share, and subscribe for more history videos on the channel. Thank you for watching.